Like many of you here, Peter was our pastor for many, many years. And as our pastor, Peter taught us how to live, how to give, and ultimately how to die. And yes, to use 3 points in our talks. Peter taught us how to live. Peter spent decades teaching us how to live kingdom-honoring lives through his carefully crafted sermons, each one perfected through threefold rehearsal. Many of us here have listened to literally hundreds of hours of him sharing practical biblical instruction on what it means to be a better follower of Jesus. He taught us how to apply faith in everyday life, making us better husbands, better wives, better parents, better children, better neighbors, and better friends in the process. And whenever Diane appeared in his sermon illustrations, he always portrayed her with the highest regard as the voice of wisdom and thoughtfulness in the household, building her up with love and respect. Through his words and his example, Peter also taught us to honor those that are close to us. A big part of life is work, and Peter showed us how to bring joy into it. I vividly remember the first time I ever saw him. It was on Back to School Sunday in September 1988, right after I moved here from Alberta. He was on the platform doing a skit with his youth pastor. Kind of irreverent. I was a bit shocked as this Alberta farm boy seeing that going on, but I liked it. Much later, during the panorama years, there were the fun fests of Summer Wonder Fair and the Fall Laugh Attacks, which showed that ministry could be both serious and joyful. Peak Sunday fun, however, took place during the 2004-2005 NHL hockey strike, when Peter dedicated a whole Sunday service as Hockey Sunday. He delivered his sermon in 3 periods, complete with Coach's Corner color commentary in between. Peter taught us to have fun in ministry and in our work. Yes, Peter, you taught us how to live. Peter also taught us how to give. While many pastors shy away from money sermons, Peter seemed to thrive on them. He spoke often about giving, and he sure loved that video of Juan Carlos Ortiz. "You Are the Owner" was the song. Peter believed that how we deal with our finances very practically shows where our life priorities are. Peter believed we should listen when Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." I had the privilege of working together with Peter on all sides of the giving table. Sometimes he was the asker, sometimes we were both the askers, sometimes Darius and I were the givers, sometimes Diane and Peter were the givers. This allowed me to see up close that he never asked anyone to do anything he wouldn't and wasn't already doing himself. For years, Peter's catchphrase was, "Give till it hurts." More recently, though, he told me he'd changed his mind on that, and instead the phrase should be, "Give till it brings you joy." That change really resonated with me, and I could see that it resonated with him as well, as I witnessed the joy he found in both his own and others' generosity. Yes, Peter, you taught us how to give. Peter also taught us how to die, and that's something we don't get a lot of instruction in, actually. The 1982 Star Trek Wrath of Khan movie challenged us, well, me anyway, to consider that how we face death is at least as important as how we face life. Peter taught us a lot as he faced death. I vividly remember the breakfast where he told me he had 3 months to live. I was shaken, but he was positive. That was about 10 years ago, and he spent his overtime very wisely. Well, he didn't go skydiving or Rocky Mountain climbing or 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. I see at least someone's a country music fan here, that's good. He did make the most of his chance to live like he was dying. He officiated or was present for multiple family weddings and celebrated 6 newborn additions to the Nikkel family tree. And I'm also told he snuck in more than a few rounds of golf. He had a whole extra inning stint as a pastor at Coast Hills Church, helping it through a time of transition, and tirelessly worked to leave it in a strong position, even initiating and leading earlier this year a closing fundraise that paid off its mortgage. And in 2015 and 2016, even though he was just a few blocks down from us undergoing treatment while we were at VGH with our son, and we were no longer his congregants, he remained our family's pastor, supporting, encouraging, and praying with us
through our son Jay's leukemia journey. This past February, on the 8th anniversary of Jay's successful bone marrow transplant, on that very day, our family received a wonderful email from Peter encouraging us and noting that milestone and helping us to see the best in the next stages of our lives. Throughout his treatment, Peter embodied what I call the spirit of positive realism. Even during long stretches of discomfort, he chose positivity over complaint. I never heard him complain actually once. Earlier this year, when he was in Peace Arch Hospital, confined to a bed for 5 days of treatment, I went there to visit him. And there he was, tipped up and immobilized like a carbonated, encrusted Han Solo wall hanging, but exuding positivity, listening to hymns and describing his stay as a personal retreat. Months later, when he told me over the phone he was moving into hospice, he said, "That sounds a bit ominous," but he was still finding the bright side of every situation. When I saw him after his first weekend in hospice, to my surprise, he talked about how he'd had the greatest weekend ever. I don't think too many people in hospice often say that. During those visits, I often came there thinking I was going to be the one doing the encouraging, only to be quite surprised that I left being the one that was encouraged. Yes, Peter, you taught us how to die. So we've done our 3 points, but there's still more. What hasn't been mentioned is that there always should be an action step at the end. And so, with that, I'll mention or remind us that Peter was a marathon runner, both figuratively and literally. He persevered through multiple very hard times in his life. He can truly join Paul in saying, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith." The truth is, the uncomfortable truth is, that all of us in this room are dying. Peter just had the advantage of being given a timeline. Let's each run our own race, however long it may be, with joy and purpose, honoring his legacy by positively impacting those around us. Diane, family, thank you so much for sharing Peter with all of us and with me.